Hello and welcome to Nirmal Banga. I'm Hiral Dadia. We have Subhash Garg, former finance Saki, joining in. Mr. Garg, my first question coming to you is Prime Minister Modi has announced a 20 lakh crore package that actually translate into a spend of, say, almost 10% of the GDP. But overall, if you go to see, the, the package is more liquidity driven with little burden on the exchequer. What's the sense you hold on this?
So the package is more than 20 lakh crores. It's 21 lakh crores. The package is also massively liquidity and credit oriented, then the fiscal support oriented. A lot of people have put out all kind of analysis. The real fiscal impact for the current year doesn't seem to be exceeding more than 1.5 lakh to 1.6 lakh crores. So in that sense, this is less than a percentage of GDP, or the GDP as we expected it to be in the current year. We don't even know what will be the GDP this year. It will certainly contract, and therefore once the denominator changes, the ratios will change. But broadly speaking, the package, by and large, which equals about 10% of GDP, is not, in terms of fiscal burden, anywhere close to even 1% of GDP.
Correct. So do you think something needs to be done on that front? Because clearly, if you talk about the stimulus, either it should have come in the form of a fiscal stimulus or in the form of a credit outgo. And what we have seen is that it's more in the form of a credit outgo. Do you think to again revive India back, fiscal stimulus is the need of the hour and something needs to be done on that front?
You see, whenever we refer to fiscal stimulus or whatever, I think what we mean is that we need to address to the situation which has got created. I think there are three players or three objectives which we are trying to address whenever we talk about any stimulus or things like that. Number one, we want to revive growth, which is expected to, which is feared to go down substantially, anywhere -5%, -10% as of now for the 2021. So growth, what to do to revive the growth is the first objective of whatever we talk about the stimulus. The second, which is part of the growth story, is to revive businesses, industry, services, farms and others, which produce mining, construction, which produce the income or the GDP. And many of them are so severely affected. In the lockdown, 70% of the economy was practically shuttered. So the second component of the stimulus package is how do you revive the industry or the productive agents of the economy. The third component is how do you get back the employment in the economy. The unemployment rate is running close to about 24%. More than 10 crore people have lost their jobs. So anything when we talk about stimulus is also to ensure that they come back to the employment. Now, judging from this angle and these objectives, one has to see the package. It's very clearly understandable that the fiscal part of it, which is in the form of providing food subsidy or cash subsidies or cash support to people, which was part of the stimulus one announced in March. So that component addresses the transient problem of the labor which has got affected, has been rendered jobless for the time till they go back to work. So that component, to my mind, was there initially, but is inadequate. We don't have anything meaningfully important for the workers who have lost jobs. They wanted more assistance to keep them afloat. They wanted assistance to go back to their villages. They wanted assistance to come back to the work. From that point of view, while there is some element in the fiscal stimulus package, but it is inadequate. But when it comes to the industry and the services, that is where I think the stimulus is lot on hope, then on the action. It is hope that if you deliver liquidity, if you deliver credit to the businesses, then those businesses would be able to revive their production once the lockdown ends. And from that point of view, if you see the way the real economy works, the credit system works, I have huge doubts that number one, the additional credit addresses the concern of the industry, and secondly, whether that credit would be available and utilized. Secondly, even the credit addresses very small portion of the businesses. We have something close to 7.5 crore MSMEs. The package is for about 45 lakhs, right? So not even 10% of the businesses are by definition not even included in the potential. So, and unless the economy revives, unless the industry revives, economic growth will also not revive. So from that point of view, and you saw the liquidity, what happened to the liquidity, it's virtually come back to the Reserve Bank of India. More than 8 lakh crores is already into the Reserve Bank, reverse repos, etc. So all said and done, the package doesn't seem to be very well targeted to what the immediate and the necessity conditions were or requirements of the growth was.
Right. So let's break this up from here. Now, if you have to first consider the lockdown, what has been, what has the lockdown cost the economy if you have to put it in numbers in terms of output loss? And taking that into consideration, by how much do you expect the economy to contract in terms of FY21?
See, my calculations are very simple. If 70% of the economy remained shuttered for about 40 days, and 50% of the economy remained shuttered for about, let us say, 20 days.
Okay.
And it takes another 40 days for the economy to come back anywhere close to normal. And I am very conscious that some businesses will not come back to normal at all, even when the lockdown is fully gone. Entertainment, sports, travel, and many transportation, many of these businesses would get altered forever. But even setting that aside, this kind of the economic loss production, I estimate that something close to 20 lakh crores of output we have already lost in 1.5 months. And in the remaining 1.5 months, if we count only up to the June situation, you might lose another 5% of the output. If and that 5% of the output amounts to about 10 lakh crores. So I see a situation where, and it's very difficult for me to believe that we will be able to compensate in later part of the year to overproduce to cover the loss. I think we would be we would be doing great if we can come back to even the normal level of production by the third or fourth quarter. So 30 lakh crores is something of the loss which I am looking to see Indian economy suffering, which is about 15% of the.
Yeah. So if you have to take this number into consideration in terms of the output loss, and if you have to accommodate the stimulus package, which is 20 lakh crores, which is way lower than the output loss that the country would be staring at, with that, you have tax shortfalls as well to the government right now because of what the economy, what's happening to the economy. How do you think that the government will be able to fund this, on a cumulative basis?
So number one, the 20 lakh crore package is not a compensating package.
Correct.
It doesn't compensate for the loss, right? Typically, in a disaster situation, the government runs programs to compensate to some extent those who have lost lives or who have lost houses or who have lost the farm income, etc. But this package, as I said earlier, only about 10% of this interest is a compensating kind of package. The rest is only credit. That's not income. So I don't think that the industry and the workers are getting compensation. Now, coming to your question about the government finances, see, the GDP also affects, it is the GDP from which the government derives its taxes. That is how we normally say what is the tax to GDP ratio, and that's the kind of a part of the GDP comes back to the government in the form of tax incomes in different ways: corporate tax, income tax, excise duties, and VAT and GST, and all those kind of things. When the economy suffers, the tax will suffer by its very natural way. If you produce less, there would be less GST. If there is less income, there would be less income tax and the corporate tax and things like that. So I had estimated very early that the government is likely to suffer about 5 lakh crores of tax loss this year. Their income is only about 20 lakh crores, all taken together, tax plus, let us say, the disinvestment and others. So government is sitting on about 2.5% of GDP, or 5 lakh crores of the income loss. That is what will hurt the government. And that's why there is some need, some suggestion that you have to, and the government also decided to borrow about 4 lakh crores extra to cover this part of the, so that was basically to cover the potential shortfall in taxes.
Correct. So right now, with regards to government stimulus, which has mainly been in the form of guarantees, do you think this is the best option, or something more can be done? Because overall, if you go to see the expenditure that was budgeted for FY21, that stood at almost 30.4 lakh crores. Do you think there is a requirement of a further stimulus that needs to come in, to actually increase the consumer spending, because that is what is required where we need to create demand?
So the guarantee, to my mind, is a very poor option for delivering a package. Guarantee and the kind of the guarantee option which we have used is that in case there is a failure of the businesses from returning or repaying to the banks, and the banks suffer the non-performing loss, etc., then only the government will pay. So it assumes a very large amount of over hope that the businesses will not suffer, because that's the guarantee. The issuer of the guarantee has this hope that he will not be called upon to honor the guarantee. He doesn't assume the situation that the guarantee would be called, and therefore the design itself assumes a false situation. If the businesses have suffered losses, if the businesses find it difficult to revive with credit, and as I said earlier, about 90% of the businesses don't even get that kind of credit.
Correct.
So the chances of the businesses succeeding in reviving using this credit is relatively less. Now, what happens in such a case if the second situation emerges, that the businesses lose money and they don't repay, and on that situation, the guarantee is called upon to pay? That will lead to such a massively problematic situation between banks and the government. The banks will have to first accept the fact that there is something has become non-performing, something has become lost, which affects their balance sheet, which affects their 80% part of the loan. Then proving to the government that somebody has lost money, give it back to me. It's such a transactional heavy things that's, in my judgment, it's impossible to operationalize. The evidence is that whatever government guarantees have been issued so far by the center or the state, it's rarely that anything has been honored. And the government guarantee-based programs don't take off. So you would recall last year when this NBFC liquidity facility was provided for 1 lakh crore, that is hardly taken off. If you believe in the second situation, that there would be losses, then the design of the package should be in such a way that you don't give guarantee. You say that, all right, if you use this, you bring back the business, you re-employ the people, then we will give you back 1/4 of it on the year one, we'll give you 1/4 in the year two. So it becomes a deferred kind of grant based on conditions of reviving the business. That architecture is much better than the architecture of an assumed artificial revival based on use of that credit, and then chance of not getting the credit or the guarantee is called upon.
Right. An important point that you made, Mr. Garg. So if you have to look from the government's perspective, where can the government actually go ahead and rationalize their expenditure at this point in time?
See, the expenditure rationalization assumes that what you have, you mentioned about 30.54 lakh crores, which is the budget for the 2021. I had done an analysis and put it out in my blog under the title that the budget 2020 is falling apart, right? And this was done after the government issued instructions directing category B and category C ministries to reduce their first quarter expenditure to 20% and 15% of the annual budget. And that detailed analysis was intended to bring out the nature of the government expenditure. Is the government right in expecting that you can reduce certain kind of expenditures and no? So broadly speaking, if you take it, more than 52% of this expenditure is completely committed. It's interest payments, it's salaries, right? 8 lakh crores plus you have to pay as interest, right? There is no discretion whatsoever in this. You can't, of the remaining 47 or 48% of the expenditure, the kind of system we have in the country, which is so straight-jacketed, that a part of it, about 3 lakh crores, is capital expenditure. Capital expenditure is also tied up with what comes in the form of the road infrastructure, cess, and things like that. Or it is about another 3.5 lakh crores is the grant to the state for centrally sponsored schemes and things like that. So my analysis suggested that there is very little chance of the government saving from the expenditure which has been made. So I don't see expenditure compression really leading to, and you have now some additional, whatever additional announcements have been made of 1.5 or 1.7 lakh crores, that has to be accommodated. So I would be watching very carefully, but I think the expenditure will go beyond 30.54, and we have the whole of the year left still to go. And depending upon how the situation turns out, it might worsen. It's likely to worsen. The infections will spread. It will spread into much wider things. Might become some sort of health crisis going forward. And therefore, in the remaining 10.5 months of the year, the expenditures are likely to go up. I don't see any possibility of expenditure saving technique.
Right. So if you're expecting the expenditure to go up, what happens even with regards to the government borrowing program? Because as we know, the borrowing program has been increased right now. So clearly you will have, the state government, the central government clearly borrowing more as well. So do you think that the RBI will then have to directly monetize the government debt, given that the center and the state put together may actually borrow over 20 trillion in FY21?
See, the government borrowing or the industry credit ultimately draws from two basic sources. One is the savings of the people, households, and secondly, the new credit created by the banking system. These are the two fundamental sources which finances all the borrowing and the credit requirement. And the credit requirement comes from the government, businesses, and households again. So the way the dynamics right now are working, there is more demand of credit or borrowing from the government, but there is much less demand of credit from the businesses at this moment. It might go up in times to come, and the household borrowings have also got virtually stalled for the time being. You don't buy, you're not borrowing for cars or houses and things like that. So this situation has resulted into the deposits actually expanding with the banks. You might have noted in the month of April, the deposits have gone up by 3 lakh crores. In 1 month, we had 25% of deposits growth, which normally happens in 1 year. About 10 to 12 lakh crores is the annual growth maximum. Last year, it was less than 10 lakh crores. So you have deposits flowing into banks. You have demands contraction coming from the industry and the household. Result is that the banks are sitting on a lot of liquidity. That is what is getting manifested in the banks depositing so much of money with the Reserve Bank in the reverse repo, etc. In this situation, it's very easy for the government to fund itself from the banking system itself without monetizing it. That is what you would find is reflected in the bond yields of the government paper actually going down. So yesterday, the 10-year benchmark sold for yield was only 5.7 or 5.74% or something. It's one of the lowest in last 3-4 years. So for the time being, I don't see any problem in government funding extra borrowings from the banking system by borrowing. By the way, Reserve Bank is also creating extra liquidity for the banks to subscribe to these papers. So you have seen some of these OMOs happening, some of these switches happening, and twist kind of programs also happening, right? Yesterday also the Reserve Bank did about 9,400 crores of bond switching. So this year the bonds which are maturing, the government will not have to sort of pay to the holders, but the RBI has converted that for the government bond of 1960 or 2060 or 2030. So that way you would be required to demand much less from the market. So I don't see in the short run, in the immediate time, any problems in government program or government borrowing program. But if the credit comes up, and this is what is hoped, and this is what is necessary for the economy to come back or revive, if that demand comes up, household demands for loans also come up for whatever the affordable housing or people's preferences to own their own cars and things like that, or from a large number of people. So we have one set of people who have a lot of savings, but we have about 70% of the people who don't have savings. They might demand for consumption credit. So if the credit picks up at that stage, perhaps an option will have to be exercised that is it better for the Reserve Bank to directly monetize it. Right. But that stage is not here for the time.
Right. So taking all of these points into consideration, along with the expansion of the borrowing program, do you think the fiscal deficit then could probably widen to say 7 to 8% of the GDP versus an estimate of a target of around 3.5%, which has been put through?
So target of 3.5% was dead even before it was announced. So there was some off-budget borrowing, so it was something close to 4.5 to 5%. Now, tax laws, if you account for the government of India of about 4 to 5 lakh crores, that puts another 2.5%. And depending upon how actually the additional expenditure turns out. So I'm quite convinced that this year, the fiscal deficit would be somewhere in the range of 7 to 10%.
That 7 to 10% is what you're expecting in terms of the fiscal deficit. That's an interesting number to work with as well. And secondly, with regards to the RBI also, now in the form of the 3-month loan moratorium that has been given, what banks are allowed to give, do you think that's not the best way to tide with the problem, and that could only probably delay the recognition of the bad loan problem to a later date? And because right now, if you go to see, there is still that hesitance that we see amongst the bankers with regards to providing credit facilities, with providing loans. They're not really very open to that. Now, if they don't really provide that credit facility today, Do you think this in turn is going to be a haunting NPA problem, say probably 8 to 9 months down the line?
See, I am actually very deeply concerned about all the decisions which have been taken, either it's moratorium or its suspension of IBC, uh, not recognizing defaults as from the credit rating point of view, and all this. So what it appears very necessary in the immediate people, to anyone who would apply his mind to, that if you are not in a position to pay back because of this lockdown and this kind of things, the minimum you expect is that don't ask us to pay at this time. So from that point of view, it appears to be a very sensible, very logical thing to do. But it will destroy credit culture. It will destroy the credit worthiness. You would not know, nobody in the system would know who is what kind of credit, right? Bankers would find it difficult to sort of believe that their loans will come back, and they will be having a way to realize their loans if they default. And what is the chance that they will default? That credit assessment becomes very, very weak. And that is, to my mind, going to do a much more lasting damage. I think it would have been better if you don't put a wheel or a cover, or you don't push the real credit worthiness under the carpet. Recognize it, you pay for it. If there are in the earlier part we discussed that it is advisable to pay for some of these losses and then retain the credit worthiness. I think that option would have been better. But I understand, in the short term, the kind of measures which have been taken seems appealing and seems meeting the requirement of the short term. But it's really painful journey ahead.
So what does the NPA number according to you look like if you have to look at FY21?
So let us look at the MSMEs. So MSME, the total loan credit from the system, banks and non-banks, is about 18 lakh crores. It's about 11% is already, it was recognized as non-performing. And for last some time, we have not actually recognized this under the directions which have been issued. So you don't know. That is what the real problem is. But anywhere 20 to 25% of the MSMEs, or maybe more, might actually be the suspect for non-performance.
Right. And very lastly, with regards to the power sector discoms as well, Mr. Garg, do you think the state government will be able to undertake, the power sector discoms as the central government is proposing? And what is going to be the major challenge on that front, according to you?
See, this decision to provide 90,000 crore from the PFC and REC to discoms paying the generators and other dues is, in its real sense, is only a facility to pay back the bills. Any expectation that there would be any reforms attached to it is all, to my mind, an absolute unrealistic situation. It will only amount, I have said that this really means that the discoms creditor have changed from creditor A to creditor B. Nothing else has changed.
Absolutely. And lastly, do you think there could be a further stimulus package that could be announced by the government? Do you think we have the capability here, taking the finances into consideration, which could be more towards an actual fiscal stimulus, and the sectors that probably have been missed out could be accommodated?
I think it's necessary. I think it's advisable. But whether it will come and to what extent is very difficult for me to say. But it's an absolute necessary if we want to revive the growth, if we want to revive the industry, and if you want to revive the employment in the economy. That is absolutely necessary. right kind of stimulus or survival or revival package, whatever you call, is an absolute necessity. Otherwise, we will do a very large damage to the economy, which will haunt us or which will affect us for many, many years to come.
Absolutely, very rightly pointed out. So probably a second line of stimulus that could be on the cards as well, which could be helping us. But let's see what comes in and what's on the table as well. But thank you, Mr. Garg, for joining us on the show. It was a pleasure to have you at Nirmal Bang, and we will come back to you as well as more announcements, come in and understand more from you as to what could be the impact on the economy and how fast the revival and the growth could take place in India. But thank you so much for joining in. Thank you, attendees as well.
Thank you very
Being a
much.
part of the show.
Good day. Bye.
Good day.